Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam, pangum langhayate girim, yatkripatamaham vande, Shri Gurum Dinataranam, Paramananda Madhavam, Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So, again, thank you very much for joining. So, today we are discussing the 18th quality, which is the quality of being apramatta, or that a devotee is inebriated. So there are different translations in one place on ISKCON Desire Tree, which I was referring to. It was written that this apramatta means that the devotee is not influenced by the illusory energy of the Lord. And then I saw in the purport, the main purport where Prabhupada lists out, where Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami lists out the 26 qualities of a Vaishnava, and where Prabhupada translates those qualities. There, Prabhupada translates this apramatta as a devotee is not inebriated. So initially, when I saw this word inebriated, I had to like look it up. I didn't know what that meant. So then I looked it up, and actually, wait, let me make Nupur co-host. Look that earlier. Okay. Are you co-host? Not yet. Make co-host. What happened? Why is it not making you co-host?
Maybe you can try Saraswati Broji. She's also on laptop, I believe.
No, it's not about that. I think it's related to the fact that I'm doing this multiple screen thing here. Let me see. No. Okay, chuck it. I'll just admit devotees if they join. I don't know. I don't want to change the screen configuration, otherwise that will be another task to fix. But anyway, so then I looked up the meaning of the word inebriated, and this is what it meant. So the primary meaning of the word inebriated is the state of being physically or mentally impaired, and this is specifically referring to alcohol consumption. So a person is supposed to be inebriated when they consume alcohol, and when a person is not under the influence of alcohol, they are considered to be sober, right? And then, but a broader usage is when somebody is exhilarated or overwhelmed or intoxicated by an intense emotion. So this is the broader meaning, and this is the usage. This is the meaning, broader meaning with which Prabhupada translated the word apramatta. So then, what is this, right? Like there are many famous verses in the Bhagavatam. There is this very famous verse, Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma, yad indriya pritaya apranoti, nasadu manye yata atmanoyam asannapi kleshada asadeha. So this verse comes in the fifth canto, and the translation is when a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activities. Nunam pramattah kurute vikarma. So they perform vikarma, sinful activities. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. And then it goes on like that. So I think these are Rishabdev's instructions to his sons. But then, so this pramatta word comes often, and it is translated by Prabhupada to mean mad or crazy or things like that, right? And we'll see Prabhupada actually wrote an essay titled "Who is Crazy," and we'll see that today in our discussion as well. So some more Prabhupada statements on this. So Prabhupada says Pramatta is a madman chasing the will-o'-the-wisp. Again, this is something will-o'-the-wisp. So will-o'-the-wisp is again, let me see what this is meaning. So it seems like a cartoon. Yeah, a will-o'-the-wisp is a ghostly flickering light, sometimes seen hovering over bogs or marshes at night. Figuratively, it refers to an elusive goal or hope that continually tempts you but remains forever out of reach. Yeah. Interesting usage of terms. Prabhupada says, will o' the wisp, a madman chasing after the will o' the wisp. So, in one of the purports, he writes. And then, so Prabhupada also writes in the same purport the verse Nunam Pramatta Kurute Vikarma. He writes, Pramatta refers to one who cannot control his senses. The entire material world is exploited by people who are Pramatta or Vimudha. Prahlad Maharaj therefore said, Shoche tato vimukha chetasa indriyartha maya sukhaya bharam udvahato vimudhan. They are rotting in the material activities for transient material pleasures and spoiling their lives, toiling all day and night, simply for sense gratification, with no attachment for love of Godhead. I am simply lamenting for them and devising various plans to deliver them from the clutches of Maya. So remember this statement of Prahlad Maharaj, that they are rotting in the material activities for transient material pleasures and spoiling their lives. I'm simply lamenting for them and devising various plans. So remember this is important and it'll come up later. This quality of Prahlad Maharaj will come up later. And then Prabhupada writes, Karmis who act very seriously for sense gratification are always referred in the Shastras by such terms as Pramatta, Vimukha, Vimudha, etc. They are killed by Maya. So very nice, like very strong purport by Prabhupada. Very eye-opening also. He directly refers to this word pramatta and says that pramatta is a person who cannot control their senses. They are running after sense gratification, and always that is the only aim of their life, is what Prabhupada writes. And then of course in today's discussion we'll also see like a balancing factor which is there. It's not that this is an extreme. Pramatta is an extreme that is to be avoided as spiritualists, as devotees. And then, yeah, this is what Prabhupada writes. So now I just wanted to kind of bring up a question to all of us, and we can discuss this a little before getting into the further slides. So, what is the problem with running behind uncontrolled senses? Like one might say, like for example, now the World Cup is going on, and people are like very crazily after who is going to win and everything. They have their support, like they have their own support for some team, and very, very intensely they desire that the team that they support win. I remember a few years ago during like I was this was 2018 World Cup, and I was interning in my company that time, and then the World Cup was going on, and we had an employee who like we had a colleague who supported Japan, and then Japan actually in one of the rounds they got kicked out. They lost the match and they got kicked out. And then this my friend, my colleague, who was supporting the Japanese team, he was so broken by that. Actually, he was so broken by that, and the another colleague of mine, he had told me that, oh, I want to set up a meeting with this Japanese colleague, but then I won't set it up for now because he's too sad because Japan lost. So that is, so much people they are putting their heart into these things, and it's just crazy. And I was looking at the tickets also, the soccer tickets, the World Cup match. Even forget about the finals. Finals are like the minimum ticket is okay. Anyone has any idea how much the tickets would be for the World Cup matches? If you have looked it up or not, I don't know.
$2,000. This is
Sorry.
also because FIFA buys their own tickets and resells them at black market.
Acha, acha. So, what is the guess? Nupur, you were guessing something.
I think you told Proji 10K.
Acha, yeah. For the finals, it's like 10K is very normal. Even for even for the regular matches, it's a lot, like $3,000-4,000. It's just crazy how much these tickets cost. And people go. It's like people go, and then we've been trying to schedule so many things. Like every Saturday, we have Krishna House, and then we have to like schedule according to the World Cup matches, because if there is a World Cup match and then devotees have to travel by train, then we can't rely on that because trains are all filled up with these FIFA fans. So it's just crazy. But anyway, coming back to this question, what is the problem with running behind the uncontrolled senses?
I don't know. We'll remain unsatisfied.
Yes. Yeah.
There is
Why do you remain unsatisfied, Saraswati, even after running behind
we just
uncontrolled?
want more and more. Like it's just not satisfying.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. Just one sec. Feel bad, Amma. ಹೊರಗ್ ಹೊರಗ್. ಅನುರಾಧ, ಅವ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದ್ ಮೃದಂಗ ಬಾರಿಸ್ಲಿಕತ್ತಾನ. ಹೊರಗ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ ಹೋಗಮ್ಮ ಮೃದಂಗ. ಹೋಗ್. So, yes, you remain dissatisfied, and so you mentioned that when I asked why you remain dissatisfied, because the desire never gets fulfilled. Why does the desire never get fulfilled? If I were to ask you. Yes, I mean, I'm not like trying to quiz you, just trying to have a conversation. So, yes, running behind the uncontrolled senses, we don't feel satisfaction. And then because, our desires, one after the other, again and again, we want to do the same. But then, despite repeatedly doing something, our desires we still don't get satisfaction. Why is that?
Maybe that's not what we truly need.
Yeah. And why is that?
का जवाब नहीं है मेरे पास शाहू जी.
So anyway, I'll not quiz more. So why is that? Is because by nature we are not these temporary bodies, right? We are not these senses. So if we run behind our uncontrolled senses, that it is not really satisfying our core, and that is the reason we don't feel satisfaction. And Suman Mataji wrote here, it's Maya and will keeps away from Krishna. Yes. Um, and then the pleasure is temporary. Yes, the pleasure is definitely temporary. Yeah. On the sensual level or even on the intellectual level, the pleasure is temporary. Yeah. So, since you mentioned Maya, Suman Mataji, let's try to discuss that a little. You said it's Maya and will keep us away from Krishna. So, why does Maya keep us away from Krishna?
In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, right, just like fire covers is covered by smoke,
Hmm.
and the baby in the womb is covered by jelly, and
Hmm.
same way Maya covers the Gyan.
Hmm.
So it's Maya. Everything physical is Maya. So that,
Hmm.
and if you indulge into it, it'll put a thick cover on your knowledge and knowledge about Krishna.
Yeah. Yeah.
Indulgence, I mean balance, just like we talked in the last class, and balance. So
Hmm.
we lose balance, it
Correct.
thicken the layers of illusion.
Hmm. Yeah, all right answers. Yes, yes. Thank you. So yes, as you all mentioned, the problem with running behind uncontrolled senses is eventual suffering. So of course there is some pleasure in the moment, but then eventually, as you all mentioned, so Radhanath Maharaj was mentioning in a class that when we indulge in something, it doesn't just give us the reaction, or not just indulge in something. When we do anything, it doesn't just give the reaction for doing that thing, but it also tunes our consciousness to repeat that thing again. So both the things happen. The reaction is not just in terms of the actual reaction for the activity, but one of the reactions is also that we develop a tendency to repeat that activity. So both the things happen, right? And then because of the tendency to repeat that activity again and again, we kind of get hooked, and that's how Maya covers us. And then we go further deeper into the illusion or the unreal consciousness or the misidentification with the body, right? Now, um so now we saw, Pramatta is means being covered or being covered by the illusory energy of the Lord, which is Maya, as you all mentioned. We still did not discuss why does Maya do it. Maybe we can take it up later if we have time. So I wanted to ask, what is one definite symptom of not being covered? Like we all discussed just now that yes, uh, Maya covers us and then Maya puts us in suffering and whatnot. But then, and then, Maya, we make these choices again and again of self-destructive choices, so to say. But then, what is a definitive symptom of not being covered? Saraswati.
Equanimity and detachment. Oh, sorry.
Yes, yes, yeah. Equanimity, detachment, awareness. But then, even more specifically, if you had to say, like, tendency towards love for Krishna, okay. Now, within the context of Srimad Bhagavatam, how does that play out? Tendency towards love for Krishna, detachment, awareness. How does that? Awareness is a very important word. We'll come back to that. Yeah. So there are so many characters in the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So they are fearless, yes, fearless as well. But then there is one kind of like this theme comes in many famous pastimes. This theme comes in Prahlad Maharaj's pastime. This theme comes in Dhruv Maharaj's pastime. This theme comes in many places, right? And the character we are going to study is also related to that theme. So there is one theme that these one quality that these pure devotees exhibit, and which I personally feel is very much connected to this quality of apramatta, which is not being covered. Surrender, yes. These are faith. Yeah, I mean, this is all, these qualities are there, these principles, concepts are there, but in terms of how does that concept play out in practical exchanges between Krishna and his devotees is what I'm looking for. Okay, anyway, I'll not confuse you all more. So, one definitive symptom of not being covered, or one definitive symptom of somebody who is trying to sincerely come out of covering is, drum rolls, when one is given option, one chooses virtue and devotion rather than sense enjoyment. This is the theme I was looking for. So this theme comes in many of the pure devotees pastimes where they are like Prahlad Maharaj, for example. He was given the benediction, right? You chew, you take, whatever you want, you tell. But then Prahlad Maharaj, going back to that verse that we saw, I am simply lamenting for them and devising various plans to deliver them from the clutches of Maya. This was his consciousness. He didn't care for himself so much. He cared for the people like us who are deep into material life and who are toiling hard for it. So now, with that theme in mind, let's go to today's section that we want to read. Okay, it's a short section. I just need one reader. They can read the whole thing. Yeah. So this is 10th canto, chapter 41, and this is when Krishna enters Mathura. And we are going to read verses 43 to the end of chapter. So there are 52 verses, so 43 to 52 is 8 plus 2, 10. So just one reader is good. Anyone, if you want to read, please go ahead.
I can read 43 now.
43, yes.
The two lords then went to the house of the garland maker Sudama. When Sudama saw them, he at once stood up and then bowed down, placing his head on the ground. After offering them seeds and bathing their feet, Sudama worshipped them and their companions with arghya, garlands, pan, sandalwood paste, and other presentations. Sudama said, O Lord, my birth is now sanctified and my family free of contamination. Now that you both have come here, my forefathers, the demigods, and the great sages are certainly all satisfied with me. You two lords are the ultimate cause of this entire universe, to bestow sustenance and prosperity upon this realm. You have descended with your plenary,
Plenary expansions.
I'm sorry. Hmm. Plenary expansions. Because you are the well wishing friends and supreme soul of the whole universe, you regard all with unbiased vision. Therefore, although you reciprocate your devotees' loving worship, you always remain equally disposed towards all living beings. Please order me, your servant, to do whatever you wish. To be engaged by you in some service is certainly a great blessing for anyone. Sukdev Goswami continued, O best of kings, having spoken these words, Sudama could understand what Krishna and Balram wanted. Thus, with great pleasure, he presented them with garlands of fresh, fragrant flowers. Beautifully adorned with these garlands, Krishna and Balram were delighted, and so were their companions. The two lords then offered the surrendered Sudama, who was bowing down before them, whatever benedictions he desired. Sudama chose unshakable devotion to Krishna, the supreme soul of all existence, friendship with his devotees, and transcendental compassion for all living beings. Not only did Lord Krishna grant Sudama these benedictions, but he also awarded him strength, long life, fame, beauty, and ever increasing prosperity for his family. Then Krishna and his elder brother took their leave.
Thank you, Ma. So these are the two verses beautifully adorned with these garlands. Krishna and Balaram were delighted, and so were their companions. The two lords then offered the surrendered Sudama, who was bowing down before them, whatever benedictions he desired. And then what did Sudama choose? Sudama chose unshakable devotion for Krishna, the supreme soul of all existence, friendship with his devotees, and transcendental compassion for all living beings. So this is something that even our Parikshit Maharaj desired. This is a very nice verse. Punascha bhuyat bhagavatyanante ratihi prasangas chatadashrayeshu mahatsu yam yam upayami srishtim maitriestu sarvatra namodvijebhya. Again, offering obeisances unto all you Brahmanas, I pray that if I should take my birth again in the material world, I will have complete attachment to the unlimited Lord Krishna, association with his devotees, and friendly relations with all living beings. So it's a really nice, this is not very lofty. This is something that we can all also, in whatever way we can aspire for these things. Yes, like ultimately, these are the things that hold true value, and this is what I want: association with devotees, friendly relations. Prabhupada, I don't know if I shared with any of you, maybe there is a Hari Haraye Namah rendition by Prabhupada. Prabhupada sang Hari Haraye Namah. And in that entire song that he sings, he comes to one particular verse where he cries, he chokes up when he's uh, singing that. Does anybody know which verse that is? You're muted.
Think you have mentioned this in past, but I'm unable to remember.
Acha,
Yeah.
acha, no worries. So that is, wow, I also forgot. तादेरा चरण सेवी भक्त सनेवास जनमे जनमे होए ए abhilash. So Tadera Charana Sevi. So Tadera here is he's referring to the six Goswamis. Or maybe to Krishna, I forget. But I think that comes in the context of this thing. So Tadera Charana Sevi. I want to worship your lotus feet. How Bhakta Sanevas and in the association of devotees. Janame Janame Hoye A Abhilash. Life after life, this is my aspiration. And this one verse, Prabhupada, so in his final days in Vrindavan, one of Prabhupada's godbrothers would come to meet him. I think Vamsi Krishna Das Babaji. Oh no, Akinchan Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj. So he would come to meet Prabhupada, and Prabhupada would, they would embrace and cry and keep repeating this verse. Tadera Charana Sevi, Bhakta Sanevas, Janame Janame Hoye, Ei Abhilash. So that is the definite symptom of, one definite symptom. There are so many definite symptoms of one who is not covered by these illusory desires. And this is one important symptom, that when one is given the option, what does one choose? And this is also, it plays out in our practical life also. We are also given choices and we have to choose, and then we can ask ourselves, what am I choosing? So that way we can understand. Anyway, so we already discussed this a little, but what are some other characters in the Srimad Bhagavatam who were given benedictions and chose selfless devotion? Muted. Can you unmute, please?
I said so many.
So many, yeah.
Dhruv Maharaj is there. I
Yes.
don't know if he was given benediction or not,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, he is there. Ambarish Maharaj is there.
Yeah.
And then who was the guy who feeded like four people, all four categories, and then he sat to eat food at last. What was the
Ranti
name?
Dev.
Yeah, Ranti Dev was
Yeah.
there.
Bharat Maharaj, Hanuman. Yeah, so many examples. So Bhagavatam, Ramayana, all these scriptures are filled with such examples, of devotees who were given benedictions and they chose selfless devotion. Prahlad Maharaj also, he's so selfless that he's saying, I'm ready to suffer for all these people. Right? Yeah, I think Ranti Dev, I read somewhere that Ranti Dev said, I want to go into the hearts of everyone and suffer for them. That was the kind of selflessness that he had, right? So that is a symptom of not being covered. One is honest and one is humble, and the whole process of coming out of the covering starts with humility. you know Not before even humility comes gratitude, that acknowledging that there is something higher, acknowledging that I'm being given so many gifts in my life, and I'm grateful to the Lord, grateful to, for some it may be nature, for some it may be anything, grateful to the parents, grateful to my family, grateful to nature, grateful to country. But then as soon as we start thinking, as soon as we start in any small way putting ourselves out of the center of everything, then we can, this gratitude can slowly bring us out of that self-centered mentality and slowly bring us out of that covering. So it's not like an overnight thing, the covering will go away just like that, but it takes time. And then, but these are the things, and then finally we see in these highest Paramahamsa Mahabhagavats how selfless they are, that they are choosing, nothing for themselves. So anyway, so that is one thing. Now, we have another character to read, another section to read. We will read that as well. But before we get there, so who is crazy, right? And of course, this one question, who is crazy, doesn't make sense. You might say Jagannath Gopal is crazy, to ask who is crazy. But I'll give more context. The materialists accuse devotees of being crazy, and the devotees accuse materialists of being crazy, right? We just saw Prabhupada, how strongly he said that yeah, these people who are running after sense gratification, they are crazy. But then if you go and ask them, they will say that, oh, these devotees, they are trying to give everything up and chant Hare Krishna and whatnot, trying to live like paupers. They are actually crazy. We are not crazy. And we might have gotten this allegation from our family members sometimes, what crazy thing you're doing. This is not normal and things like that. So, so this thing is there. Every sect or every a group of people with a particular thought process accuses the group of people with some other thought process as being crazy, and this happens between spiritualists and materialists also. But then, how do we decide then who is really crazy, right? Is there an objective criteria for this? How do you decide who is really crazy? One way to say is nobody is crazy. Another thing, another extreme is everybody is crazy, सब लोग पागल है, but then that can't be. There has to be one. The one who thinks others are crazy are crazy. मतलब devotees भी crazy है और materialist भी crazy है, सब लोग crazy है.
Jagannath Prabhu, I think everybody is crazy. Some people are crazy about Maya, others are crazy about Krishna.
Okay. Lekha Mataji says crazy. Krishna is crazy. Sure, yeah, he is. We inherit that quality. Yeah, definitely. So is there an objective criteria? to decide who is crazy and who is not.
This
Yes.
reminds me of a conversation with my American friend. So
Mm,
apparently we went on dinner and he
mm,
kept calling everyone crazy. So there were three of us. He
mm.
kept calling, this is crazy, she's crazy, she's crazy. Everyone is crazy except the three of us.
Yeah.
Definitely reminded me of that
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone could be crazy, but they could be crazy for different things. I don't know.
Mm,
Like materialists might be crazy for material objects, and
mm,
devotees might be crazy for Krishna.
yeah.
It all starts with your beginning assumptions. Sometimes
Mm,
how in math, we start with an assumption and then we come to the solution. So
mm,
if somebody starts with the assumption that we are this body, then
mm,
for them the devotees are crazy. If somebody start with the assumption that we are not this body, then for
mm.
them the materialists are crazy. So
Right.
so the and it depends on. We will always feel like the people on the other side are crazy. That
Correct.
happens even normally. If you're part of one political party, you feel that people of the other political party are crazy.
Yeah.
And
Prabhupada writes that exact thing in this article. So he wrote this article in Back to Godhead many years ago. Who is crazy? I'll send that article in our chat. But yeah, that is where. So there is an
Um,
objective right. Sorry, yes, Lekha Mataji, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, Prabhu. So, I was just going to say that I feel like I don't know if this is true, but I was just thinking about it a while ago. So, we are essentially Satchit Ananda. So, Ananda,
Mm,
in some sense, can be associated with like being crazy in like complete bliss. So like for example, when we say Shukadev Goswami, so he's a Goswami, so he has mastered his senses, but then he would not even chant the name of Radharani because he knows that if he chants the name of Radharani, he'll just like faint for 6 months. And
mm,
Parikshit Maharaj doesn't have the time, so he's crazy for that Harinam. He's crazy for the prema of like. So in that sense, like Shukadev Goswami is crazy too. I
right,
think this is just a context, like crazy conditioned on what context, but then everyone is crazy is just my thought process.
right. Yeah, we are all crazy. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, like crazy here, of course, what you all mentioned that, crazy for Krishna, that is all, yeah, it is in a different realm altogether. That is like the spiritual realm. And more than crazy, I would call it bliss, as you mentioned, Lekha Mataji, or I would call it ecstasy, right? But crazy in a negative connotation, right? So the objective criteria to understand who is crazy and who is not crazy is, drum rolls again, is, you all know this answer, but I have to get my mouse to the right state. Yeah, is Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. You want to say something, Nupur?
I said they are crazy.
No, 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 no. The objective criteria to decide who is crazy or not, that is Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Yeah. Yeah, so that is what Prabhupada writes, and Satswarup Maharaj also writes. So the only person who lives according to Guru Sadhu Shastra is sane, and everybody else is insane. And then we'll see what that exactly is. We'll see what I term as levels of craziness, right? And I for some reason forgot to write down that. Um, I forgot where that connection was made, but one symptom of craziness. Anyway, forget about it. I'll come to it if I remember. Okay, so who is crazy? So this is what Prabhupada writes. Is there an objective criteria? Yes, Guru Sadhu Shastra is the objective criteria. One who is following that is sane and others are not. Now there are levels of craziness. Okay, Prabhupada writes here, and then uh, I also added some things here, like the last level of craziness, right? So one craziness, one insanity that we already saw is misidentification. If a person identifies with something he's not, he's considered crazy. This is what Prabhupada writes in that article, and he says the conclusion, therefore, is that one who identifies with the body cannot really be considered sane. This is one level. There is another level of craziness, but okay, what happens is in the typical trajectory of a soul, there is misidentification. Okay, there is a person misidentifies with the body, that he is not the body, but then still they are so attached, and then they run after sense gratification and things like that, which we already saw Prabhupada writing such strong statements. But then slowly the person may realize that okay, there is something higher in life which I need to aspire for. There is something higher, there is something called a spiritual life, right? Need to practice that, whatever, things like that. But then there is a craziness that can happen even in that. And this might be a little strong for some, but then this is what Prabhupada writes. And again, Prabhupada's statements are also very strong, but then this is something that Prabhupada writes in that article, who is crazy. Okay, so even when one takes to the spiritual life, spiritual path of self-realization, this craziness sort of persists. Now I'm starting to think that the word crazy itself is so heavy. But anyway, let's just discuss this. What could be the next? Okay, this is tough to imagine. Impersonalism and voidism. So Prabhupada writes that one person may have an expensive kind of car and another person may have an inexpensive one. One person may have a new car and another person may have an old one. Should we then think that when we are out of the car of the body, the personality no longer exists? This is another kind of craziness. The void philosophy, which maintains that after that death we become nothing, is also craziness that has been contradicted, Prabhupada writes. So he is, Mayavad. Prabhupada is trying to say that Mayavad, the notion that, and this notion doesn't come to a materialist who is misidentifying. This notion comes at a much higher level when one understands that everything is temporary, but then one comes to the conclusion that I am that supreme. I am that, everything is one. I am that supreme. The supreme is me. Nupur is supreme. Saraswati is supreme. Suman Mataji is supreme. Lekha Mataji is supreme. Krishnan Prabhu is supreme. Everyone is supreme. We are all one. And we don't have a personality in the end. When we actually attain a state of spiritual perfection, that personality goes away, and then we become that one or Brahman, or we have an impersonal existence. So that is another level of craziness that Prabhupada writes. And then anyway, any questions, any thoughts so far? Is this too strong, or is this?
So, probably with this definition, that if a person identifies with something he's not, he is considered crazy. The conclusion is that one who identifies with the body cannot really be considered sane. So in the Kali Yuga, 99, very close to 100%, maybe a little less. I
Yeah.
agree with them. Right?
Yeah. I mean, with this definition, that is true. Yeah.
So in Kali Yuga, we all are crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
Except maybe there are a few pure devotees who are sane.
yes. So see, that is why it is important to bring this back to a balance, which we will do in the end. Like, this thing might make us feel that, oh, we are good for nothing, we are misidentifying. So then, of course, I am crazy. The whole world is crazy except for a rare few. Manushanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tatvatah. Out of thousands, one may aspire for spiritual life. Out of thousands of such people who are aspiring for spiritual life, one person may know me in truth. Krishna says in the Gita. Now, is it that everyone apart from that one person who knows Krishna is crazy? No, that is not exactly the case. There is a balancing factor here. We will come to that. Now, there is another thing, even and this is something that I thought of in like from what I've read and everything, what I've heard. Even if some person is convinced that okay, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a person, and I need to repose my love and devotion towards the Supreme Lord. I know that in theory, but still there can be a level of craziness, and this crazy is actually very, very dangerous for a practicing devotee. Does anybody know what that craziness could be? And this is so stressed by Bhakti Vinod Thakur and other acharyas in a very, very strong way that don't you you might have the right philosophy in your head, but don't do this one thing in your spiritual practice.
Is it
Sahija?
this Sahajya?
Sorry?
Sahajya?
Not exactly. That is a symptom of that. That is a symptom of what I'm looking for, but in a more specific, it's a more
In,
specific principle.
Imitate sadhus like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, imitation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or other such elevated devotees when it's not natural to us yet.
Right. Imitate. Okay.
Jagannath Prabhu, can you repeat the question, please?
So we are discussing levels of craziness. One level of craziness we see is which is in the karmis, which is in the materialists, which is that we a materialist misidentifies with the body. That is one level of craziness. Now, such a materialist might come to the spiritual path, but still that snare of Maya, that influence of Maya may not go away. So within the spiritual circle itself, they might get into this ultimate conclusion of impersonalism or voidism. Impersonalism is nirvisheshavad and voidism is shunyavad. Right? Impersonalism is everything is nirvishesh, doesn't have any attributes. The whole whatever attributes you see around you, they are just illusion. And voidism is nothingness. After you become nothing after liberation. This is like Buddhist philosophy and things like that. But then, even if somebody is understands that okay, no, this is not it. This is one studies Shastra, one gets into connection with the Vaishnava Acharya who have scientifically and on a Shastric level proven that this is not the ultimate thing in terms of spiritual life. They know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one has to practice the path of bhakti, manmana bhava bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru, Krishna says in the Gita. Still, there is one kind of craziness that comes.
Abhiman?
Okay. There is a root of all these things, like all that you mentioned, sahajiya, imitation, abhiman, pride. There is a root of all these anarthas. Nupur, you were saying something.
initially, I said Sahajya. Now I want to say I am Krishna.
No,
That level of
no, that is
craziness.
also that is
Sahajya.
also no, no, no. I mean, Sergey is definitely a symptom of that thing,
Mm,
thing, what I'm looking for. And then even like I am Krishna is again, it's in a covered form of impersonalism only, right? I am
mm.
supreme. But then even beyond that, one knows that I am not Krishna. I'm supposed to go to Krishna, but still there is a very deep-rooted thing that happens. So what is the
नहीं
Yuga
आता क्या?
Dharma for? Let me check the chat quickly. I am elevated. Yes, that is also a symptom. What is the Yuga Dharma?
नाम संकीर्तन.
And how are we supposed to chant?
Without offenses, with attention.
Yes. So that is what I'm looking for. Attention. So inattention. So even on the path of bhakti, inattention is actually termed as pramad. And pramad, Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, pramad is like a craziness. It's like an insanity. So actually, inattention is pramad, is what he writes. So and then he writes, "O Lord, from this inattention, all the anarthas arise." Yes, all the anarthas like sahajiism, like considering myself as the center, trying to imitate someone, somewhere we are inattentive in our spiritual practice, and that is the reason these anarthas come. So this inattention is another level of craziness that can creep in even in the life of a devotee. So that is what we need to, like in many ISKCON temples, they chant the 10 offenses against the holy names of the Lord. And then after the 10th offense, they say it is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must carefully guard against all these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. What is the desired success for devotees? Every devotee who
Krishna
claims
Prema.
Krishna Prem, love for Krishna. So this inattention is actually the root of all these other anarthas. If we are inattentive, then yes, we will consider, other demigods as same as Krishna. We will disobey the spiritual master. We will blaspheme, offend devotees. We will consider that the holy name is something ordinary and things. We'll give interpretations and things like that. So again, this is like levels of craziness, right? Pramad is the very and just by attentive chanting, a lot can transform in our life actually. So
Jagannath Prabhu, I have a question about this. Like in the beginning, when uh, you start chanting,
mhm.
attention is not that good. So how is that giving rise to anarthas? You're trying, you're doing the effort. At the same time, you say, Krishna, look at your effort that you're trying to do it.
Yeah, I mean, see, the chanting anyhow is good
Right.
rather than not chanting. Okay, like there are in Ajamil pastime, there is this verse Sankityam parihasyam va stobam helanam evava Vaikuntha namagrahanam asheshaga haram vidho. If somebody chants the holy name out of joke, if somebody chants the holy name out of mockery, if somebody just casually chants the holy name, still that holy name has so much power that it'll cleanse many of the sins that one might have done.
Right.
But still on the path of spiritual life, if we want the our journey to be swift and smooth, then the acharyas recommend that our practice should be attentive. If it is not attentive, then we will end up, we will see that, all these other offenses are happening. Now, in terms of the question where when we initially start chanting, we may not chant very well, right? That is fine. It's not about not being able to. It's not about ability here. It's about consciousness. It's about our sincere endeavor. So yes, initially when we sit and try to chant, the mind will run to hundreds of places, right? But what am I doing there? This is a lesson for me also. Like I have even now, so many times I just scroll on the phone while chanting. Oh, this message is really important. I have to reply to this message, and then I do that. But then that is not what we want to do. Like, okay, the mind will roam, but then what am I doing? Am I just letting it roam? Am I just, so there are two extremes. What could happen here, right? One extreme is that I might just give up to the distraction. I might just start scrolling and within some time I'll realize that, oh, 1 hour has passed by. Right? I was I recently created this joke. This is like a fictional joke. The joke is one devotee goes and tells another devotee, hey, Hare Krishna, Prabhu, I just completed my chanting. And then this other devotee asks, oh, so which is your favorite reel that you saw today? So, like a joke in the sense that, you chanted along by simultaneously looking at so many reels on YouTube or Instagram. So, which is your favorite reel? So that is one extreme where we get distraction, we just give into it. The other extreme, which I personally feel, is we beat ourselves up. I'm good for nothing. I'm good for nothing. I'm just fallen, insignificant. Yes, you are all that, but it doesn't help to reinforce that and beat ourselves up, right? So we have to like come to the middle ground. So like there is some who wrote this? I think Sachinandan Maharaj wrote this. Like there is the level of offensive chanting, where we are just committing offenses while chanting, and then there is the level of Shuddhanam, where we are feeling ecstasy, we are actually chanting in such a way that we feel bliss. But then between that, there is a long phase of surrender, the consciousness of surrender. There is the consciousness of being materially attached, there is the consciousness of being purely attached to Krishna, but in between that is the consciousness of surrender. So when we chant, okay, I got distracted in this mantra. Okay, no worries. I don't have to beat myself up in my next mantra. I just keep the phone down. I pray to Krishna. Please help me chant properly. Please. Please reveal to me. And everybody has a personal relationship with Krishna. Everybody has a personal, personal, so to say, realizations of what Krishna means for them, of how Krishna is acting in their lives, or how we would want Krishna to act in our life. So we can pray in that sense that Krishna, please reveal to me your glories. Please reveal to me the glories of your name. So that consciousness of surrender is what we can try to imbibe. And that is what I have, the books that I've read, they suggest that. Sachinandan Maharaj, for example, he suggests it's not an artificial process of beating the mind, tuck, 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 or it's not even a process of, okay, whatever the mind says, just give in to it. But the process is of, a prayerful chanting. And for me, what the prayerful chanting is, it's that, okay, Krishna, I got distracted now, please help me chant better. And the holy name, the sound vibration of the holy name is non-different from Krishna. Abhinnatvam nama namino, the named and the name are non-different when it comes to Krishna. So then this abhinnatvam nama naminoho, it means that when I say Krishna, when I am chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, Krishna is there in that sound. Like if we were to take sound as an element, it is not conscious, right? If somebody is playing a music on the guitar, that sound that is coming out is not conscious. But when I'm saying Hare Krishna, that sound is actually a conscious sound. So that sound is actually seeing how am I chanting. That sound is as powerful as Krishna. Namna makari bahuda nija sarva shaktis. Mahaprabhu is praying in Shikshashtakam that your holy name has all the powers that you have, dear Krishna. You have invested your powers in the holy name. So the holy name is not different from Krishna. And I'm far from realizing this, but just in theory, if I were to think that, okay, if the holy name is not different than Krishna, then I can pray to the holy name. And when can I pray to the holy name? While chanting, I can pray to the holy name because holy name is not different than Krishna. So that is what I feel is prayerful chanting. That I'm far from realizing that Krishna is non different from the holy name, but at least I can request Krishna that please help me to realize that. A lot of lofty things. Any other thoughts here?
Prabhu, I think you explained it like so beautifully that it somehow really impacted my heart, and I've not done my rounds yet, so I'm like, okay, I should like try to impact. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for this reminder. I have a question, though, Prabhuji. So the thing is, sometimes at least like the way my mind works is it just tries to like test the waters. So sometimes when I'm like when I'm trying to chant, I don't know how to like face this, but you just go into like some imaginative scenarios and be like, oh yeah, I did this, so Krishna must have thought about me like this. And
Mm.
it's a rabbit hole. Like slowly I'm practicing how to like identify my thoughts from myself, and I'm trying to like come out, but it wantedly tries to create offensive thoughts, and then it's like, oh, if I feel bad, then I'm good. If I don't feel bad, then I'm like, you know what I'm talking about. It's just
Mm.
I hate I hate it, but I don't know how to like get out of it, Prabhu. If you have some thoughts on this.
See, our thoughts are also very interesting. So I had done this
Mm,
class few months ago, last year, I think
mm,
sometime. Uh,
mm,
like how do devotees versus non-devotees or Krishna's
mm,
enemies, how do they think? There
mm,
are many of these sections in the Bhagavatam where Shukdev Goswami is describing, okay, now Kamsa thought. Hmm?
mm,
And then he
mm,
describes what Kamsa thought. And then in other places he writes, okay, this is what, for example, Krishna thought. He's seeing, he's writing what Krishna is thinking, or he might write about. So then by studying these, you will see that there is a very stark difference in the way they think. So in thinking also, there is this whole concept of yato yato nischalati. In thinking also, when we see that our thinking is taking us into a rabbit hole, we have to actually bring back yato yato nischali manaschanchalam asthiram tatastatu niyam yaitat. So we don't have to stop the thinking. We are we often as engineers we like to think in binary. Okay, I'm going into a rabbit hole. So the solution is I should not think at all, right? Either go in the rabbit hole of thinking or not think at all. But no, that we can't stop thinking. That is the reality of the situation. We cannot stop thinking. Now, the choice is yours as to what you can think. Okay, if I'm going into a rabbit hole, then you have to bring your mind back. You can do that by various techniques. You can journal about it. And then when you journal about it, you dissociate yourself from the thoughts. Then you understand, oh my God, this was so crazy. So then that's what you can understand. Or you can pray to Krishna while you're chanting. You can say to Krishna, my mind is going crazy right now, Krishna. That way, you're not denying the craziness of the mind. You're not denying your thought, but at the same time, you're saying that Krishna, this is what I'm experiencing. And Krishna is listening. The holy name is listening. As I said, the holy name is a conscious being. If we can just somehow, even in theory, be convinced of this, like Krishna is, the name of Krishna is conscious, it just changes the whole. Like Mahatma Prabhu writes in a Japa reflection, he says that if you treat chanting not as a process but as a relationship, then your chanting will dramatically improve, he writes. It's a relationship. It's a relationship with a conscious being, that is the holy name, right? So yeah, for a materialist, this might sound crazy. How can sound be conscious, man? But no, we are talking in on the basis of Shastra here. Abhinnatvam namanam, Nitya sarva shaktis. Krishna has put all his energies into the holy name. So, so I think, yeah, both extremes should be avoided. Where I think that no thoughts should come. Good chanting is not where no thoughts come. Good chanting is where, this is again my personal opinion. You can anyone can question me here, but then I feel good chanting is when we get prayerful thoughts. Good chanting is when my thoughts are of surrender. They are not of, on one hand, beating them up, and on the other hand, of completely spiraling out. So it is somewhere in between, and where we are acknowledging the conscious nature of the holy name. And just like I was explaining to Saraswati the other day, just like we take darshan of the deity with our eyes are a sense, right? That way you can imagine that when you're chanting the holy name, you're actually taking darshan of Krishna with your ears. And just like we say that deity is not different from Krishna, the holy name is also not different from Krishna.
Wow. Okay. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Thanks so much.
Again, this is all theory for me, honestly, but this is just what I've learned.
No, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Whatever you said actually makes complete sense. And this was many years ago. I had attended some meditation class. Now I can't even remember now, more than 20 years ago. And they had said something very similar, which was, they said that when you try to meditate, your mind will get distracted. And when your mind gets distracted, don't get bothered by it, but observe the distraction. So
Yes.
and then you gradually bring it back, where you say, you acknowledge the fact, because you cannot just beat yourself and say, why is my mind thinking about the pink elephant right now, or something like that. You cannot do that, because if you do that, you'll think about the pink elephant even more. So the way out is to just observe the mind, gently, acknowledge it and say that, oh yeah, the mind is going to do these things. and maybe remind yourself a couple of verses from the Bhagavad Gita about mind being the best friend and the worst enemy, and and then keep moving on, because it is the mind that is playing tricks when we are meditating too. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the same when we are chanting. The reason we are getting distracted is because Maya is taking shape. Maya does not want us to. Um, Maya just does not want us to move towards Krishna, because and Maya is as strong as, because Maya is Krishna's energy as well. So
Yeah.
Maya is really strong,
Yeah.
and Maya will trick us, regularly. So I think what you made, what you just said made total sense to me. Somehow it, exactly as Lekha Mataji said, I just had an aha moment after what you said. I think I'm going to use this in my chanting going forward.
Thank you, Prabhu. So one technique that I had thought of, which I myself haven't done since many months now, but I call it presence journaling. Okay. So let's say I'm chanting and my mind is really going here and there. My mind is going into the past. My mind is trying to see, but trying to think what will happen in the future. My mind is trying to remember that particular place or things like that. But then what presence journaling is, it's like a short journal. You take out your phone or wherever you journal, you write whatever your mind is saying. Okay, my mind is saying this, my mind is saying that. And then you can write where, your present circumstance, where you are right now. You might write, okay, I'm sitting on the chair in my living room and I'm here in the United States in this particular town, and I'm here, sitting on my sofa with a pillow behind my back, leaning on the pillow, and I'm looking at, for example, I'm looking at the window right now. I can see the people going around in the park. Just write about your present. Just write about your present. So what happens by that is you sort of acknowledge the present, you come back to the present, and then from there you continue chanting again. Then you again, because then what you have done is, by reinforcing the present, you actually brought your mind back to the present. And then isn't that what we want? We want to chant in by being present. We want to be present to the holy name. So unless we acknowledge our present situation, uh, by bringing our mind back, how can we chant by being present? So this is something I had started to do. I called it presence journaling, but I also stopped doing it. See, it's so, mind is such a tricky entity, even the forgetfulness is a very bad, is a very, what I would say, it often works against us. It does work for us because ultimately forgetfulness comes from Krishna. Matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Krishna says, I am the one who gives knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. But then, this forgetfulness, often we might have heard something, we might have learned something that is really enriching to our spiritual life, to our chanting. But then over time, because of the nature of the mind, we might forget it, right? So that is why it is important, I guess, to repeatedly do such things, periodically do japa workshops, periodically read some book on japa. I know devotees who are constantly reading something from a book about japa, about chanting, so that when they sit for chanting, they understand what they are doing. They understand that it's a relationship. So many devotees have this. They keep on repeatedly reading the same book again and again and again, or they might read different books constantly. Something or the other they will have, like in their reading regime, they will have something which is going on daily for chanting. And then other readings are also there, like you read Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, whatever you're reading, but then specifically for chanting they are reading something. By constantly, I don't mean constantly like every moment, but every day they read something about chanting, so that reinforces. They might do japa workshops. There are a lot of practicalities, and in japa workshops you chant with in association. That is again a very powerful thing. If you chant in the right kind of association, it's a very powerful effect it has on your consciousness. So all these things are there. So anyway, so moving on, so these are the levels of craziness, right? So misidentification first, then even within the spiritual life one might get sort of veered off into the mayavad, Shunyavad kind of things. And then even if one doesn't get veered off over there, within bhakti itself, this inattention might creep in, pramad, right? Moving on. So a balanced approach, right? Some like Suman Mataji mentioned earlier that by going with this definition, then hardly anybody will be actually not crazy. Everybody is crazy. 99.99% of the people are crazy, except for that one pure devotee who has realized Krishna. So here is the thing, right? It is not exactly like that, right? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that both material duties and spiritual duties should run along parallel lines. But if the pursuance of material duties seriously hampers the path of self realization, then the material duties should be reduced. A devotee is not inebriated, he is not lopsided, he is not intoxicated by material pleasure. He reduces his material needs to a simple level and patiently dedicates his life to the service of Krishna. His life is therefore the real example of moderation, balance, and sanity. So, like, what does this really mean to reduce material duties? You can't reduce material duties. Come on, Jagannath Gopal, what are you saying? I can't reduce the number of hours I can work, right? I have to work for these many hours. So, yes, it's not an immediate thing. It's not that from tomorrow I have to start working for 6 hours a day, right? It's not like that, but eventually I know that yes, I have to do this material duty, and if it is seriously hampering, I need to reconsider in some way or the other, in a gradual, organic way, not like a in a very tough, this is what it is. I can't do this anymore. I want to practice spiritual life and things like that. It doesn't happen like that. It doesn't. That has to come from inside, and often we often in spiritual in ISKCON circles, Prabhupada's instructions on renunciation are quite glorified a lot, right? But then I was hearing a lecture of Prabhupada where Prabhupada says that renunciation has to be done out of maturity. You should not immaturely renounce. And he says that this in connection with Parikshit Maharaj's renunciation. Let me see if I can find that note in my notes. Maturity. Yeah, maturity is a must for renunciation. So this is what Prabhupada said in a Bhagavatam class in 1972 in Los Angeles. You cannot give up your wife, children, kingdom artificially, and you can, of course, extend that to your job, your duties, etc. Artificially, if you give up, then you will again fall down, Prabhupada says. Artificially, I give up my wife and then I seek another's wife. This is nonsense. This is nonsense. This is fall down, he says. When you're actually mature, then you give up. So, this is very important to understand. For some reason, these statements by Prabhupada are not so much emphasized. But yeah, this is there. Like, some mature mentor might tell this to you, but then often, give this one life to Krishna. But then you can give this one life to Krishna along with all the duties that you're doing. You can do that. It's not that give your one life to Krishna means I have to leave everything and just dedicate completely. It doesn't happen that way. That's immature for most people actually, unless you're like very renounced from childhood. So okay, so that is a balanced approach, Vidyam cha avidyam chayastad vedo bhayam saha avidyam mrityum tirtva vidyamritam ashnute. The Ishopnishad says this verse that both Vidya and Avidya actually have to go in a balanced approach. You can look up that verse of Ishopnishad, very nice verse. And there Prabhupada also writes, what is the point of Avidya also? It's very interesting verse. So moving on. So it's 9:46. So we'll quickly read one section of the Bhagavatam, which brings out this balanced approach. Okay. Uh, I'll need one reader. There are not many verses here again. Oh, Bande, very good. Yes, anyone? I just need one reader. We just have like 6 to 17, 11 verses to read.
I can read, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji. So text 6 to 17, you can read.
So great sage, Maitreya replied, commanded by Lord Brahma to judge children in the worlds, The worshipful Kardama Muni practiced penance on the bank of the river Saraswati for a period of 10,000 years. During that period of penance, the sage Kardama, by worship through devotional service in trance, propitiated the personality of Godhead, who is the quick bestower of all blessings upon those who flee to him for protection. Then in the Satyuga, the lotus-eyed Supreme Personality of Godhead, being pleased, showed himself to their Kardama Muni and displayed his transcendental form, which can be understood only through the Vedas. So Kardama Muni saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is free from material contamination in his eternal form, fulgent like the sun, wearing a garland of white lotuses and water lilies. The Lord was clad in spotless yellow silk, and his lotus face was fringed with slick, dark locks of curly hair. Adorned with a crown and earrings, he held his characteristic conch, disc, and mace in three of his hands, and a white lily in the fourth. He glanced about in a happy, smiling mood whose sight captivates the hearts of all devotees. A golden streak on his chest, the famous Kaustubha gem suspended from his neck, he stood in the air with his lotus feet placed on the shoulders of Garuda. When Kadma Muni actually realized the Supreme Personality of Godhead in person, he was greatly satisfied because his transcendental desire was fulfilled. He fell on the ground with his head bowed to offer obeisances onto the lotus feet of the Lord. His heart naturally full of love of God, with folded hands, he satisfied the Lord with prayers.
Okay, now this is very important, the next few verses. So everyone listen attentively. Go ahead, Mataji.
The great sage Kadma said, O supreme worshipful Lord, my power of sight is now fulfilled, having attained the greatest perfection of the sight of you, who are the reservoir of all existences. Through many successive births of deep meditation, advanced yogis aspire to see your transcendental form. Your lotus feet are the true vessel to take one across the ocean of mundane nuisance. Only persons deprived of their intelligence by the spell of the deluding energy will worship those feet with a view to attain the trivial and momentary pleasures of the senses, which even persons rotting in hell can attain. However, O my Lord, you are so kind that you bestow mercy even upon them. So therefore, desiring to marry a girl of like disposition who may prove to be a veritable cow of plenty in my married life, to satisfy my lustful desire, I too have sought the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the source of everything, for you are like a desired tree. O my Lord, you are the master and leader of all living entities. Under your direction, all conditioned souls, as if bound by rope, are constantly engaged in satisfying their desires. Following them, O embodiment of religion, I also hear oblations for you who are eternal time. So, however, persons who have given up stereotyped worldly affairs and the beastly followers of these affairs and who have taken shelter of the umbrella of your lotus feet by drinking the intoxicating nectar of your qualities and activities in discussions with one another can be freed from the primary necessities of the material body.
Thank you, Mataji. So you see, this is such a contradictory verse if you look at it in one sense. He's saying, your lotus feet are the true vessel to take one across the ocean of mundane nescience. Only persons deprived of their intelligence by the spell of the deluding energy will worship those feet with a view to attain trivial and momentary pleasures of the senses, which even persons rotting in hell can attain. However, O my Lord, you are so kind that you bestowed mercy even upon me. So he has said that these trivial pleasures and momentary pleasures, are deluding and things like that. And then in the very next verse, he said, therefore, desiring to marry a girl of like disposition, who may prove to be a veritable cow of plenty in my married life, to satisfy my lustful desire, I too have sought shelter of your lotus feet, which are the source of everything. So in one sense, in one verse, he's saying, Your deluding energy makes people worship you for temporary pleasures, trivial pleasures. And in the next verse, he is himself asking for something that could be termed as a temporary, trivial pleasure. And he is even saying, satisfy my lustful desire. Come on, like he's seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. This is not an ordinary personality we are talking about. This is a very great personality, right? So anyway, this is the balancing act, the balancing
Who's the
the ba-
personality, Prabhu? Who's the personality?
this Kardama Muni.
Kardamamuni, of course. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Jagannath Prabhu, I had read somewhere that there was because of the order from Krishna. Krishna wanted him to.
Yes, yes. So his Krishna wanted him to create progeny. Like his father Brahma told him to create progeny. So yes, his duty was to create progeny and things like that. And for that he asked. So in one sense, indirectly, it is not his own desire and things like that. But then what I mean to say is that he's not jumping to a conclusion. He's not jumping to um, to an approach that, oh, it's okay, I have a duty, but then this duty is temporary. I'll just go to the Lord directly. And anyway, I have gotten darshan of the Lord. Why do I need to worry now about all these temporary, so-called temporary duties given by my temporary father, who is going to die anyway, right? He could have thought like that, but he did not. You also have the contrasting example of his siblings only. I don't think, yeah, Kardamuni, I don't think he's son of Brahma though. But yeah, he got the instruction from Brahma. So Kumaras are not his siblings. But the contrasting example of Kumaras, where Brahma said, create progeny, but Kumara said, no, 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 we don't want to get into Maya at all. And they left. So they are also glorified. And Kardamuni is also glorified for asking a benediction of getting a wife. Both are glorified. One has renounced, one has engaged. But then now we have to see whose example we follow, right? We have to see whether we want to connect our material life to Krishna. We want to do it as a duty to Krishna in a dharmic way, or we want to immaturely give up and follow the example of Kumaras. So, not that one is wrong and one is right, but depending on our individual situation, we have to see, you have to discern. Okay. Uh, Moving on, the final takeaway, right? The final takeaway is the entire world can be transformed into spirit if we simply become Krishna conscious. By ardently following the instructions of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and following in the footsteps of the great acharyas, teachers of the Bhagavad Gita in the line of disciplic succession, we can spiritualize the earth and restore its inhabitants to sanity. So, that is how we can come out of this um, inebriety of material life, of Maya. So now I just wanted to end quickly by showing you some meanings of the word apramatta. Just like the word pramatta has come in many places in the Bhagavatam, the word apramatta has also come. And if we see here, and this is again very interesting because Prabhupada translates in many places, apramatta is one who is careful without being mad after them, although never be attentive. Prabhupada is writing attentive, without being misguided, without any illusion, completely in transcendence, not deluded, without material fear, being very alert, apramatta, being very alert, cautious and sober, being very careful in spiritual life, attentive and grave, without laziness or foolish. So many, like these words, they actually, the word apramatta, it can be like carefully do it. Like this one verse, if I show you, let's see what this is. किं नु बालेषु शूरेण कालिन भीरुना अप्रमत्तः प्रमत्तेषु यो वृको नृषु वर्तते. Maharaj Parikshit considered that less intelligent men might find a personality of Kali to be very powerful, but that those who are self-controlled would have nothing to fear. The king was powerful like a tiger and took care of the foolish, careless person. So here the apramattaha is one who is very careful. So one who is very careful, they might not find Kali that powerful. And then we're attentive. Let's see what this verse says. No one is dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, nor is anyone his enemy, but he gives inspiration to those who have not forgotten him and destroys those who have. So apramattah, attentive. Avishati apramattah asau. So approaches attentively. So yeah, these words are there. Attentive, without illusion, alert. Let's see what this verse is. A saintly person should remain alone and constantly travel without fixed residence. Well, this doesn't really apply to us. Being alert, he should remain secluded and should act in a way that he is not recognized. Yeah, I don't want to take things too much out of context also. But yeah, so this is what I had, dear devotees. We can end here. And
Jagannath Prabhu, in one of your slides, in inattentive, where you had inattentive,
mhm.
we discussed in relation to japa, attentiveness in japa, but could it be also in another context that be um, attentive to be careful about not indulge, right? Be attentive that don't go in the opposite direction. Right?
Yeah, it's attentiveness in everything. Like Sukha Mataji says, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
Mm.
So you can't be inattentive in chanting and be, sorry, you can't be attentive in chanting and be inattentive in everything else. It
But
doesn't work that.
if you're cooking in the kitchen, if you're not attentive, you'll burn the food. So
Exactly.
that kind of like applies everywhere, and obviously japa also.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so we should try to be attentive in everything.
Mm.
But then at least begin with chanting because that is the most important thing for us in our spiritual life. And then, yeah. Okay.
Thank
Uh,
you, Prabhu. It
any,
was wonderful class, like always. Very, very good. Especially this one on that, we get caught up in illusions all the time.
mm,
So being attentive and being alert about being aware of that illusions exist everywhere in every step, and be aware of that, and then that don't get caught up and into it.
yeah, that is the one takeaway that you can take from this attentive, careful, aware spiritual life. Yeah. Okay, so that's it, dear devotees. Thank you. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnav vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Jagannath Gopal Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.